Hey guys, welcome back. I'd just like to say you're welcome, Logan Paul, and or anyone else down the line who would have purchased this case at some point, because it is definitely not a base set first edition booster case. Not a thing. We're going to go through all the reasons. Before we get into those reasons, let me address some messages that I got from an angry Mealy Pops. Of course he's angry because this is going to come back down the line. There's going to be a lot of refunds. There's going to be a big one to start with that $3.5 million. But, you know, you got to be careful when you do this stuff. You can't just be a sports card collector, blindly purchase something that is obviously fake to most of the community, or at least fake enough that they wouldn't touch it or wouldn't take a risk on it and wouldn't bid on it when it was $75,000 on eBay. There's a reason for that. So if you're going to be reckless like this, I hope you save the money and that you're ready to refund it, and that you're going to be able to, contact this original seller that posted the box. So, Mealy Pops. Oh boy, you sit back, buddy. He tells me my video wasn't factual. That Card Kahuna, Jacob, the guy that was purchasing the box with him in the video, knows the seller. He doesn't know the seller. You guys might have talked to the seller on the phone, but you don't know the seller. Sorry to tell you, but my video was extremely factual. I showed all my receipts in the video, and it sounds like you don't know what you're talking about, and this is how you got yourself into this mess. So, the baseball card exchange. I thought maybe I put them out of their misery in the last video. Maybe that was enough. Mealy Pops says that I shouldn't discredit one of the biggest names in the hobby. But since you're asking, since you think it's necessary, I can and will continue to do so in this video. What else did you say? Oh, he does PSA, the PSA packs, so he's an expert on Pokemon. Okay. Maybe he shouldn't be the pack expert for Pokemon. Maybe he shouldn't be authenticating the packs, as we'll see. This is going to be a long video, so buckle up. There's a lot of stuff to cover. My apologies. I'll try and keep it moving, but I want to include all the details so I don't get questions afterwards. It should be clear as day that this is not what it seems. This is not a first edition base booster case. Not happening. I can confidently say it isn't. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to tell you everyone down the line that's going to have to make some big reverse transactions. But that's the game you play when you're Flipper 69 420 and doing it with big money. This is just what's going to happen eventually. You don't do your research, you don't look into it, and you kind of mask it and pass it off, pass the buck to the next guy. Well, it's gonna burn you. All right. What else did he say about BBCE? Wrapped and authenticated sports, non-sports, Magic, and Pokemon for many years. Well, sorry to tell you, and it's kind of weird that this was the first Pokemon product wrapped. You talked about that in your video. I mentioned it in my video. It was factual, and I'm pretty sure I even used the clip of it being said in your video. So I don't know what to tell you on that. Pay attention, maybe. And not to mention that he did it without ever seeing one before, which I also included in my video. How do you authenticate something that you've never seen before? What? It's a cardboard box. You've never seen this before. You have no examples to compare, and you're going to say it's authentic? Okay. He said I did no background homework. Well, I got news for you. I did my homework last time, and I did so much homework this time that I can show you that this is not a real case. It might be a real case, but it's certainly not first edition base. We can see. We're going to see. I'm sure somebody will open it at some point, and you can, set a little reminder. You can send me an apology instead of an angry, long-winded Instagram message. What else? He says he worked with the Pokaju, and that's another reason why it's real. I'm sorry, but if the Pokaju had any real involvement and encouraged the purchase, it was bad advice and reckless advice, and dare I say, uneducated in the Pokemon world. I know he has a lot of cards just by taking a look at his Instagram or whatever, but that doesn't mean he knows anything about vintage sealed product. Sorry. He might as well be the collectibles guru at this point with this advice that he's providing you. All right, so it was only, I said that it was shipped in my video, that basically this seller would not allow someone to go pick it up with cash. He wouldn't. The only reason it was shipped is because of the pandemic. Well, I got news for you. If it wasn't the pandemic, if it was some other reason, if it was fine, if you asked to go there, you would not have been allowed to. As we've seen with the auction winner and the OG buyer, it wouldn't have been picked up no matter what, as the seller wouldn't allow it. So if you want to make excuses for why it was shipped, go ahead. But I'm telling you right now that there's no way this scammer would have met you in person, because it's not a real box. He didn't want it opened. He didn't want to meet someone in person because it isn't what he says it is. Oh, and then to finish it all off, this is the funniest thing. When people obviously watch your entire video, but then say they don't. So this is a direct quote from him, from our boy Mealy Pops, the lazy investor, the lazy flip dipper. He says, "I didn't watch your entire video because after viewing a few minutes, I realized it was strictly for clickbait and no real research has been done." Well, I got news for you. There was research last time, there's even more this time, and there's enough to de-authenticate the box that you guys are playing hot potato with. It is what it is. You will post whatever you want to match your narrative. No, I won't. I'm glad to admit when I'm wrong. In this case, my hunch was right. It was extremely right. Everyone's hunch was right. This is a sketchy box, and now I'm going to show you how it's not the real thing. It's just poor. Feel free to reach out to Jacob Card Kahuna. I don't need to reach out to Jacob. We have lots of him talking in the video. It's clear that none of you know what you're talking about. And it's just passing the buck over and over again. It's just pass it on to the next person. Really, really crappy authentication, as we'll see. So message him directly on Instagram. He located the case and handled majority of communication with the seller in Alberta. But after watching your video, I don't know we would want to talk to you. Neither do I any longer. I don't need to talk to either of you because neither of you did the research required to make a purchase like this. You're both dumb. Sorry to say it that way, but you're both extremely dumb, and you were very dumb with your money. Maybe even more dumb with your money than dumb money with the collectibles guru. This is the same stuff again. You get these people with too much money, and they ask the wrong people for advice, and this is what you get. No one wants to put the work in to authenticate anything. There's a ton of people that you could ask. I wouldn't trust anyone to 100% authenticate a sealed case of first edition base because it just can't be done reliably. But on the other hand, if you ask someone like myself or an expert to put some time and effort into it, you'd find out pretty quick. This quick, since I made the last video, that this isn't the real deal. They would have probably advised without even doing all the research, but we did all the research here. He says, "This will be the last message I send you. Have a good day." Well, I'll tell you what. Anytime you want to reach out and have a chat, just let me know. If you're like Mealy Pops and didn't or claim to have not watched my entire last video, I suggest you do that beforehand. Link up above here. Check that out first. There's important information that we're not going to cover in detail over again because it'll just get too lengthy. I'd like to give a quick thank you to PSA Pikachu, aka DMB Liquidations. He was the one that won the eBay auction. A lot of the information from the last video and a little bit from this video was either provided by or run through him. So, all right, let's take a look at the baseball card exchange since apparently we didn't put them out of their misery. This is a little authentication semi-pause. I guess they're overburdened with the amount of people submitting stuff to them. But I thought this little tidbit was important to include. So here, number 1. Any and all factory seal cases that need to be wrapped can still be submitted. If the case is worth $100,000 or the case is worth $100, go ahead and ship it here. Okay, kind of a weird way to phrase it. But here's the most important part. Factory sealed cases can be processed quickly, as all I need to do is verify that they are still originally sealed. They can go straight to wrapping/shipping. What? All you're doing is checking the seal? What if the seal's fine, but something else has been tampered with? As we'll see with this example. So you're just you're checking tape and putting shrink wrap on a box. Like, I know that's how it seemed, but if you're gonna come out and say it on your own website, I guess that works. All right, next up we have Steve here from the baseball card exchange, having a little exchange with someone via email, sent to me anonymously. So here we go. We have Steve Hart, who says, "Hello. We will only authenticate and wrap boxes that came from the factory original that did not have wrapping on it. So basically, we only do the vintage stuff pre-1992. Starting in 1992, most companies put their own shrink wrap on it. So those boxes we don't do at all. Thanks, Steve." So this is in 2020. So take that into consideration halfway through 2020. Here we go. The person in contact with Steve says, "Thank you, Steve. I'm involved in the vintage Pokemon community and have been wondering how you handle your authenticating. Some of the older boxes that do not have Wizards of the Coast logos on the wrapping, and now even some with the logo on them, have unfortunately been resealed by the bad people of the community. I wasn't sure if people would be happy with boxes being opened in order to inspect the authenticity and then rewrapped by a third-party company in order to ensure authentication. Even with handling as many boxes as I have, it is sometimes extremely difficult to guarantee its authenticity. I do not think anyone is doing this for the gaming world, at least not yet." All right. See what we get for a response from Steve. "I agree with you. People have asked me to just look over and give my opinion on that $50,000 Pokemon box with clear wrap on it. I don't know much about Pokemon, but there is an early box of that value, correct?" He's authenticating what is now a $3.5 million case of boxes when in 2020 he didn't even know what the set was. How? Like, how the hell do you trust this? These people are out of their mind. Like, who didn't look into this? Surely you can't just have access to emails like this, but do a little bit of research into who's authenticating your stuff. This looks bad on him. This looks bad on PSA because he's doing their packs, all of the packs. So your packs, you should probably be questioning them, even if they're in PSA slabs. Who knows if this guy, how in the world? I don't even know when he started doing the packs for Pokemon, PSA Pokemon graded packs. But how the hell does he not know what first edition base set is in 2020? What? And all it has to it is plain shrink wrap. I told them there is no way I would even put my opinion word behind it. Something like that would be too easy to just wrap by anyone with a wrapping machine. Kind of like the wrapping machine that you put on the case of them. That has baseball players on it though, so that means something. So the person talking to Steve says, "Yeah, it is nearing $100,000 now, so he didn't even know what the price of it was. For some reason, I thought you guys would be open to inspect and then reseal with your own wrapping and logo. That would kind of make sense as a process because, as everyone knows, packs are easier than booster boxes to authenticate because you can actually check them. It's not rewrapped. The more layers on something, the easier it is basically to fake it. So with a case, I wouldn't trust anyone to authenticate a case unless I knew the exact origin of it. And in this case, we don't know the origin of it because the original seller had multiple stories. Did the lazy dudes that bought it from them, did they look into those stories? Probably not, because they're lazy and they were just looking to make a quick buck. In all honesty, to me, I think it's a great idea in order to truly guarantee it, as long as people trust that logo. I'm telling you right now, you shouldn't trust that logo. but I always understand ruining the integrity of the original factory seal is greatly frowned upon. So there's a couple people that asked me that too. They did not remove the tape and check the boxes inside the case. They just put shrink wrap over top of it. They checked the stop tape. Stop tape is not reliable. You can buy it pretty well anywhere. Don't trust stop tape. You basically have to open the box. All right, next. So we have Steve, who says, I'm also the one who does all of the packs for PSA. How often have you seen resealed Pokemon foil packs? Why shouldn't you know whether you see them or not if they're being submitted to you? I'm actually seeing vintage Pokemon 2003-04 Upper Deck products with LeBron, 1993 SP baseball with Jeter, etc. packs coming through that are tampered with. We spot it now, but at first, I'm sure some got past me. Well, there you go. There's confirmation. There are resealed packs in PSA cases. Congratulations if you purchased those. And good luck finding them. Like, why you knew that they slipped through and you didn't put some kind of report out that the people that had them, or to deactivate the cert numbers on the ones that are questionable, or have them sent in for review. All right, have you seen much of this? Early on, we assumed it would be near impossible to reseal a foil pack. What? If it was near impossible or impossible to reseal a foil pack, why is PSA paying you to authenticate sealed packs when they just put them in the case straight away? But these crooks have figured it out. Well, great. Too bad it took you a while to. So here we go. We have the person in contact with Steve who says, I have yet to see any good reseal Pokemon packs. I'd agree. I don't think anyone can properly reseal a Pokemon pack. It's not going to look the same. But they will be around very soon. I'm sure there have been some that slipped through, but it's very difficult with the old foil packs. I've experimented a lot myself for personal education, and it comes down to opening one end of the pack perfectly with no tears, and then either heat sealing, comes apart easily when handled, or gluing, can usually feel when comparing to a known authentic pack. The current reseals are still pretty easy to spot with excess glue, poor quality images, and crimping being off. So like the crimping can be off a little bit, but typically, especially with the old stuff, why would someone keep a sealed pack that the crimping was messed up on? I don't know. There's been a spike in boxes recently due to the packs being so difficult. They simply put 2 to 4 real packs on top and tape them down so the packs beneath can't be moved around for you to see. Side note, I wish PSA would develop a case for the non-wax packs. I hate seeing the packs folded over. Not the best look. It is a commonly shared opinion for the Magic and Pokemon people. Steve says, I agree on the folded over packs. Always told them this is ugly. Problem is they just don't want to put any more money into a new mold. Well, there you go, PSA. You don't want to make a new mold. As they say, they don't make any money on packs as it is. Well, maybe because they're shipping them to you and you're sending them regardless if they're resealed or not. What I am seeing is foil packs where the bottom or top has been opened, then recrimped somehow, but so far most of them leave the foil ridges in the original seal look flat and shiny. Better ones are doing better at hiding it, but lots of times you can tell by feel rather than sight. Thanks, Steve. So I wish I could remember who it was, but there was somebody that submit packs to PSA and they return them opened. So, well, this is probably your guy that opened them up and sent them back as not authentic or opened or whatever. There's always the chance that if they were sent by air that they popped open. That's why there's little holes in them to prevent that from happening. But here you have it, the authentication. So we're going to disprove that, but we're also going to show why the case isn't real. Don't worry. All right, Mealy Pops, let's hear from Card Kahuna Jacob. See what he has to say. Surely he's an expert and he took care of the whole thing.
I don't consider myself a Pokemon expert at all. Like, I'm not. And then one of my best friends calls me up one day, Pokeju. You know, Michael's one of my closest friends. I consider him like a brother. Legend. He hits me up one day and he's like, Jacob, I think I have something, but I'm not really sure.
Hopefully this was just his lack of knowledge in the hobby and not trying to do you dirty. All right, Jacob. Mealy said you know the seller, so why don't you tell us a little bit about him?
So I'll tell you a little background on this guy. Really nice guy, really nice guy, but he's like from a farm. He's like a farmer in Canada, and he bought a house, and in the attic there was a bunch of these boxes.
God.
There was a bunch of these sealed cases.
So here's a third version of the story from the original seller. I'm assuming that these two didn't dig enough to find out that there were other stories. They were just too excited to get that quick flip. Little lesson for you. If someone says that they found a bunch of stuff in a storage locker, they found it in an attic, their uncle used to work for WotC, something like that, it's probably a lie. Thank you very much to Tap Lab for suggesting I go take a look at that Poker Tea Time podcast. Now that we have a third story from the original seller, we had an estate sale, a 12th birthday present, and now we have the attic story to complete the trifecta. I'm sure there's probably other stories out there. If you have any, send them my way. Let's hear what Jacob has to say about BBCE.
This is ridiculous. You give it to them, and the guy who authenticates it, is a complete professional on taping, on actual tape, on cardboard, and they run it through an X-ray machine. Because now they're liable. Once they wrap that box, they instantly take full liability of what's inside the box, which is awesome for an investor, right? Like, the box is wrapped. God forbid, whatever it is, it's not on me. You got to go see BBCE, because if they wouldn't have wrapped it, it would have been way harder to sell. So
it's kind of funny and weird that you think it's his responsibility now when he doesn't. You didn't have this conversation. You didn't talk about a guarantee or something that a future buyer would have to go to the baseball card exchange to get their money back, because he does not offer anything like that at all. I got an email from him. I asked him personally if he has any sort of guarantee for the items that he wraps, about the authenticity, and this was his response. We do not have a guarantee for authentication / wrapping. That said, all the other third-party grading companies don't or no longer do. We do the best we can, and rarely have we ever had a problem in the 10 years we've been doing this. So, rarely a problem is kind of a big problem when something's $3.5 million. The biggest issue has been that when someone has come forward and claimed there was an issue and wanted a guarantee, it turns out they were the ones committing the fraud, trying to get me to hand over some money. So how are you going to authenticate things if you can't authenticate things that someone's dropping off themselves? What? I don't know. I don't know if he sees the hole in his logic here. If someone's going to scam you for your guarantee by resealing a box or faking a box, and you can't tell the difference, then you can't tell the difference ever. So you can only authenticate real boxes? What's the point of the authentication at all? Oh my god. Also, maybe if you want to be like a really professional company and authenticate things, you might want to get something other than a Sprint mail address. Like, get your own email address. You have your own website, so just pay the extra $10 or whatever it is to get the email address with like Steve at BBC Exchange or bbce.com. What? I don't get it.
Because of the risk reward, once it was wrapped, I just really wanted to move it.
Translation, you wanted to make a quick buck and make it somebody else's responsibility. Isn't it funny how everyone that's owned this box is really banking on the fact that there's a premium, that no one's going to open the box? I think maybe deep down they know there's a good chance that the contents are not as advertised.
To give it to you for the price of per box.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not adding a premium of it being a sealed case, right? I'm just moving it to you at $450,000 a box, right? So the way I explained it to him was, you go out and make that money on it being a premium of it being the only one wrapped, which is what he did.
Let's take a look at what's wrong, what's glaringly wrong with this case. In particular, the label. So if we look here, this label doesn't look like any of the WotC cases I could find, any pictures that I've dug up. Big issue here is that it doesn't look like it is a thermal label. We have a little bit of smudging here. With thermal labels, or a thermal printer, it's fast, there's no smudge, since there's no dry time effectively. You're just heating up portions of the paper that have chemicals on them. They act like ink. It's cost effective since there's no ink refills. This was invented in the 60s, basically used by all manufacturing and shipping companies. If you've ever worked in a warehouse or been in a warehouse or shipped something on a large scale, you're gonna have one of these. And I don't think there's any exception in the world in 1999 with these print companies that they wouldn't have one. And why would they not have one for this particular box? The thing with these is they all fade over time. And it'll fade faster with UV light or with temperature differences. But in this case, we have a box that looks like it's pretty beat up, at least compared to the other cases that we're going to look at right now. And for some reason, our print is still nice and dark. I think that's because it's ink. That's not a thermal printer. Here's what it should look like. Now this one might be an extreme example. It's very faded, but you can see here that the box itself is in beautiful condition. Sort of a little crinkle there behind my head. It's clean. It looks like it was kept somewhere good. We get a little bit of staining here on the paper, on the thermal paper or thermal sticker. But other than that, very faded. Let's take a look at this one. Fossil. First edition Fossil. Same thing. Faded label. No smudge because it can't. Thermal print does not smudge. It doesn't make a mess, and it certainly you can darken it by rubbing your finger against it. It's similar to if you have receipts, if you store them for long enough, in particular like 25 years or 20 plus years, it's gonna fade. You'll end up with just a plain white receipt. It's the same technology. It's quick, it's easy. Then you don't have ink all over your fingers from your receipt when you go to Target to buy the whole Pokemon section. Here we go, another example. This one being the long boys, long crimpies, long packs, and there we go, super faded. Again, very clean box, always faded. Not looking good. Not looking good. Would they? Is there a possibility? Maybe. Maybe they used ink. I don't know why they ever would. And it's going to become more apparent that this is the issue. This is what was faked right here. We're going to look more into that. So, I don't think there's any real way of knowing what this number is designating here, this 9015932, but it's not too often that you see it being the same number. So I would imagine this has something to do with print run, whether it has to do some of the numbers with the facility where it was printed. Probably the case. Just a little bit weird when you find a video of someone opening a sealed case of Pokemon that has that same number printed on it, that same 7-digit number, as we see here. Similar locations for the sticker and the stamp. Coincidence? Maybe. Probably not. This is a base set unlimited case. And this is a large reason why I think inside the first edition case, the pretend first edition case, you're going to have base set Unlimited. We got the nice faded label here again. Don't forget that. Oop. And here we go. There's a better look at the label. We got the number there. We're outdoors, checking it out. This is from Met 7 Games. And here's a look at the top of the box. That'll become important as well later on, since that's the only part that was authenticated apparently by Baseball Card Exchange. All right, next let's look at the stop tape. Stop tape is not reliable. I don't even think this is the actual culprit, but for the record, the stop tape doesn't even match WotC Pokemon boxes. How we use that as the only source of identifying the fact that it's legit, I don't know. This is the original box. As you can see here, we have a lowercase s and we have no period at the back end of it. There's also a huge a huge gap in between the stop sign and the text. So you can barely fit like just the one thing of text and the stop sign on the bottom. If we look here, we see that every vintage case of Pokemon that I could possibly come across has a capital S here for seal, and it has a period at the end. Could it be that with the first edition print, or with that particular print, someone had different stop tape? Maybe they had to order it from somewhere else. Maybe it was a different version. Sure, we're gonna give the stop tape the benefit of the doubt. We're gonna hope that it stopped people from tampering with the box. Again, I really don't think that's the issue. So here we go. If we need more examples on the top here, seal, capital S, period. And again, we are nice and close together so that you can actually get what is like 3.5 units of items on the tape. So here, capital S, period. And if we want to get super technical and use this high definition image, unfortunately the only one that I could get my hands on, this is Gary's semi-sealed first edition base booster case. So this is the only one in existence because the other one is not real. So unless one pops up, another actual real one, this is as close as it gets. It's a semi-seal. You can see the first edition stamps there in the high res, high definition. Unfortunately, it's in storage, so I can't get a clean picture of it, at least not at this time. Weird that this wasn't even referenced, but even here you can see we got the, it might be hard to see on the video, but there is a period there. We got the proper stop tape, the standard WotC on every WotC case that I could possibly find, even on the other products. This is the stop tape that was there. Don't know, but that's also sketchy. I just don't think it's the actual culprit in this case. All right, so what happened? What did they do? Well, I'm gonna say they probably got a nice bottle of nail polish remover, Q-tip maybe even, and they probably just erased the thermal paper. Then printed their own. All right, now you might be saying, how do you know for sure this is what happened? How do you know they were scamming for sure? Well, there's one really big fuck up that is so big that I can authenticate or disprove the authentication of this box sitting right here. So here we have some barcodes. This is right here, this WOC 06033. That is a base unlimited code. Here we have WOC 060331E. This is the Logan box, or what is now the Logan case. The 1E is supposed to stand for first edition. Funny enough, Gary's box doesn't have this. So it's weird. We can take a look at the Fossil box, the first edition Fossil box, and they used this 1E designation. But it's to my belief that the 1E designation did not exist for first edition base. Gary's doesn't have it, and this box is fake, or faked, or modified to look like a first edition box, this 1E shouldn't be there. And there's a good reason why we know. If we generate the barcodes, this WOC06033 is the barcode here. The barcode is auto-generated. Whenever they put the text in this line in the computer, this is what it prints out. It automatically prints out a barcode. If you scan this barcode with a barcode scanner, if you download an app and scan the barcode, this is what it's going to give you, this WOC06033. Lucky enough, I had it on my phone already. Crazy enough, and probably not by coincidence, this barcode here onto the questionable first edition base box, you can't scan it. Even though it's nice and dark, nice and black, you can't scan it. So we had to take it a step further. We had to do some real CSI nonsense to make sure that this barcode actually gives you WOC 060331E. So these guys up in the top here and this guy here, this is the fossil, and you can see there, it matches up nicely. Perfect. That's a real barcode. If you scan this or you scan this is a little bit hard to scan from the images, but if you scan this is what it gives you, and you can line these up and it's the same barcode. These two, drastically different. There are some similarities, but this first edition, or fake first edition, as we'll learn, doesn't match up with the unlimited barcode. They're two different barcodes. It's two different inputs, so they're going to read out separately when you can scan them. Now, weirdly enough, the WOC 06033 looks more like this barcode than the one with the 1E on the end. And that's because this scammer got lazy. They put the base unlimited barcode there instead of the one with the 1E. The 1E probably doesn't exist, it's not a real thing, but they didn't realize that this designation here, this WOC 060331E, should match the barcode underneath it. So they got caught because they didn't understand barcodes. I mean, they should be caught regardless because they told multiple different stories. But here's my absolute banger of evidence. The label was faked, and it's probably a base unlimited box. So here we go. We got them overlaid. Here's the WOC 06033 overlaid with the fake box, or the faked modified box, and you can see here they line up perfectly. Thank you very much to Saber and my cousin Blasty for the overlay image assistance on this. 10 out of 10. We got them. This is fake. All right, so you might ask, Rattle, what happened? What's the full story here? Well, seems a whole lot like they had a case of unlimited base set booster boxes, much like the one shown here. This isn't the scammer, this is Met7 Games. He opened a legitimate box. I don't know what he did with the contents. You'd have to ask him. But great that he documented this so we could refer to it. We see the number there is the same. He, the scammer, the Canadian scammer, not myself, took some acetone probably, wiped off the actual label, the base unlimited label, somehow printed or heated his own into it. That's why it looks like crap. That's why it's not clean lines, faded, anything that we expect as we've compared to other boxes. The bottom of the box is also wrong. The little recycle logo is different. I don't expect that that's really a reason. It could be just the boxes got changed at some point, and it happened during this print. I'm assuming this is the print. Probably a very good indicator that it was done. It was printed at the same facility. Whether or not that's the same print run, not totally sure. But again, very big indicator that this is a base unlimited box. You can't take that off. That's not going anywhere. So they took that off. Also, Probably never any first edition base cases with the W first edition on them. They likely saw this Pokemon Fossil booster case that it had the W with first edition here indicating on the case. Turns out they probably never did, for base set at least. They added the 1E in anticipation that that's what a first edition base case would look like or would be. But at the same time, they messed up because this series of letters and numbers is the barcode. If you scan the barcode, that's what you get. So they accidentally left, or they were too dumb or lazy to look up what the 1E, what this code would actually do, or the base version of this with the 1E on the end. So we caught them in that. And that tells us right away that they messed with the label. Could it be the stop tape as well? Maybe. Could it be the whole case? Also maybe. Not totally sure. If I had to guess, my best guess is that this is an actual sealed box of Base Unlimited that the scammer put together. But you never know. It could be even worse than that. I think everyone along the lines is banking on the fact that no one's going to open it. The stop tape is wrong too, so I don't know. Did Baseball Card Exchange look into that at all? Do they even know what they're looking for? Probably not. Thanks guys for tuning in. I'd like to thank Tavis King, Rusty, TCA, and Pokemon Radar for getting back to me on some questions that I had. Even though some of them were impossible questions, I appreciate them getting back to me as fast as they did and being as helpful as they possibly could be. Special thanks to Dan Unboxed, or in this case, Pigeons and Ramen, for the music in this video. Check him out. He's been on the channel before, but he also has a music channel that he's starting up, so pay him a visit on that. See you later, guys.